Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of new releases. So we have 9 of the new Dolce & Gabbana lipsticks. These are a new permanent item. We also have a couple items from the SUQQU Holiday collection that were gifted. So they sent me this palette as well as this eyeliner. So we'll be taking a look at that. In addition, we have the Victoria Beckham eyeliner in Orchid, as well as the new Dolce & Gabbana primer and foundation. And I want to start off with the Dolce & Gabbana nail polish, which I actually introduced in my video on the Dolce & Gabbana gemstone collection. And I told you I'd wear it for a while and let you know how it goes. So I did not put a top coat on this. This is 2 layers of the polish. It's been about 4 days now since I filmed the original video. You can see I have tip wear. Now, this is a very glittery nail polish, which means that, yes, it feels smooth on the top, but on the edges, you do have particles of like glitter and so forth, which makes it easier to chip and get nail wear and so forth, tip wear. If you want to alleviate that, you definitely want to use a clear top coat on top. I was actually a little bit harder on my nails than usual. I'm pretty rough on my nails in general, but with Halloween, I had a lot of scraping things to do to get with command strips. It broke. So anyway, I was harder on my nails than usual, but you can see we do have some tip wear. We did not have any sort of major like gouging or anything like that. Overall, I think that it has average wear time compared to indie brand nail polishes, which is what I typically wear. I think the wear time is slightly better than some of the Chanel nail polish shades. I have a few of those. Some of mine, you know, they kind of don't hold up very well after just a couple of days, whereas others really hold up pretty well. So it's kind of shade dependent. So I would say that this is probably about average wear in general. Now, I have to say though, I really, really love this particular color. I think it is gorgeous. I love the way it shifts just a little bit when the light changes. This is the shade Icon number 2. So I do plan on trying more of those in the future, but I like the nail polish. So let's start off with the Dolce & Gabbana primer, and then we'll move on to the foundation. Now, first, I want to show you that the bottles for the two are going to be the same. So this is the primer, and I have to say I was a little taken aback by how deeply peach it looks, but it is actually sheer. This is the Everlast primer. You can see this is our lid. It kind of matches the Devotion collection. And then this is our primer, which looks a little scary for me in the bottle, but you can see how well it blends out. You don't really get a tint on the skin. You can see it goes completely sheer. You don't really see much of a peachiness to it. And let's just blend this a little bit over here so you can see any sort of blurring effect there as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the demos. The Everlast primer retails for $54 US. And again, it comes in this translucent peach shade. It does offer a blurring effect. It feels like a gel-based serum essentially going on. It has a thin gel-like texture to it. It's very, very comfortable. According to Dolce & Gabbana, the primer instantly minimizes pores and perfects the skin with immediate and 24-hour blurring and mattifying results. Its spectacular formula controls shine for a soft matte effect that lasts all day, while also enhancing the skin tone with a tone-up effect that is suitable for all skin tones, prepping your skin with everlasting confidence before makeup application. The Everlast primer comes in a beautiful glass bottle with a gold cap sealed by the iconic Dolce & Gabbana Sacred Heart. So we do have that frosted glass bottle. We have 28 milliliters of product. As I mentioned, it retails for $54 US. This is going to be made in Italy with a 1-year shelf life. I have to say, I think it's a really nice primer. I do love the actual texture of this because it feels like a soft gel formula that goes on. You can definitely see a blurring effect on there. And I like the fact that the peach color doesn't actually translate to any color on my skin. So it definitely works. It leaves my skin feeling very smooth, but not dry. Like dry to the touch, as in, you know, not like a dewy, tacky type of texture, but it feels very smooth and silky, and it doesn't feel drying at all on my skin. And yeah, again, it feels kind of like a gel serum that you would use in skincare. So I really like this primer. Now, I've also used the other Dolce & Gabbana primer, the Bergamo Glow Primer. And this one I think is just okay. Let me go ahead and compare this real quickly. We'll put a little bit of this on the other side. So we do have a similar texture. We still have kind of that gel texture. We've got this beautiful blue color here. But I have to say I don't really notice much with this primer. So this is supposed to give you a bit more of a soft glow to your skin. It has a very similar texture to it. I like the texture of it, but I just don't really notice anything with it. Whereas with this one here, the Everlast Primer, I do notice a blurring effect. So, you know, the Bergamot Glow, I think it's okay, just nothing special. So it's one that, you know, I bought, I'm using, you know, to use it up, but I'm not going to repurchase this. Whereas the Everlast Primer is one that I would consider repurchasing. I do like this one here. Now, compared to one of my current faves, this is the Prada Refined Primer. And we'll put this one, let's put this one right up top. Again, we have kind of this gel type texture here. This is also going to offer blurring. This one here is actually going to be green. Notice how all of these are like color correcting colors. So I think that the Prada primer is pretty similar to the Dolce & Gabbana Everlast. I still prefer the Prada a little bit more because I think there's just a little bit more blurring with it. But I think both of them feel very similarly on the skin. So I have to say I do like both of those. So I'm not sure if you can tell how much blurring you get on my hand here, but I would say ranking them, we have the most with the Prada, followed by the Everlast. And then I don't notice too much blurring. There's a very soft blur and a soft like matte glow with the Bergamot Glow. Let's move on to foundation. Now I have to say I had no idea what color to get with the foundation. And so I have shade 01N Light. And I'm typically fair neutral in foundations. This one's a little bit too light for me. It's a little bit too white. So I will probably actually have to pass this one on to my cousin whose skin is more fair than me, but, or rather more fair than mine. And yeah, this is the shade here. So you can see that it gives you a little bit of a whitish effect in this particular shade. It does get a little bit deeper after it sits on your skin for a little bit, but it is still slightly too light for me. So let's take a look at the demos with this. And I've tested this out for a few days with the Everlast primer and without it, just to kind of see how, you know, the effectiveness of the primer in terms of what it does with the foundation as well. Now, in regards to the primer, I did test it out with the new Dolce & Gabbana foundation, but I've also tested it out with my favorite Cle de Peau foundation mix just to see, you know, to make sure I was truly able to isolate what the primer is doing versus what the foundation's doing. And I do really like it. You know, I think that it does help, you know, add a little bit of blurring, and it just kind of makes your makeup application go on more smoothly. Honestly, I don't have an issue with wear time with the Cle de Peau foundation, so it's hard to say whether or not it extends the wear time at all, but I do really like it. I think that it makes a really nice base for your foundation, regardless of the foundation that you're using. The Everlast foundation has the same packaging as the primer, so we have a frosted glass bottle with, again, the heart icon on the lid. And this is a 24-hour full coverage 3D matte, no transfer sunscreen broad spectrum SPF 20 foundation. And I have shade 01N Light, which is described as having pink neutral undertones. And again, as I mentioned, slightly too light for me. We have a 1-year expiration date, and they also put an actual date on the product. So mine expires in 4/2026, so April 2026. And again, this is going to be made in Italy, and we have 27 milliliters of product. It retails for $59 US. Just a couple notes of some ingredients here that are used for the sunscreen, because that can make a difference with flashback and so forth. We have octisalate at 3.5%, octocrylene at 5%, titanium dioxide at 0.5%, and zinc oxide at 1.88%. So you might get a little bit of flashback with this depending on what shade you use. And I believe the percentages of like titanium dioxide and so forth probably change with the foundation shade that you pick up, which is common for foundations. Most foundations, that will vary a little bit depending on the color. Now, according to Dolce & Gabbana, the Everlast foundation has been crafted with a life-proof formula that offers a full coverage, flawless finish with 24-hour long wear and no transfer. Designed with a skin-loving touch, it provides a blurring and smoothing effect with all-day shine control that ensures complexion perfection with a 3D matte seamless result. Available in 40 inclusive shades, it caters to everyone and every skin, with easy-to-navigate options for the ultimate everlasting confidence. The Everlast foundation comes in a beautiful glass bottle with a gold cap sealed by the iconic Dolce & Gabbana Sacred Heart. Now, I do want to mention that Dolce & Gabbana also says that this is a waterproof foundation. I did not test that claim. Overall, I think that this is a nice foundation. It gives you a soft matte finish. It's a little bit of a radiant matte, so you do get a little luminosity with this. There's no like glitter or sheen, really. It's just kind of like a soft, subtle matte glow with the foundation. I think it is a really nice formula, and I think if I had a better color match, it would look better on my skin than it does here. But I have worn this for a few days, and as I mentioned, I tried it with and without this primer, and it has performed the same each time. And I did wear this actually on Halloween. We had a whole day of like school parties, and then kids came over to my house for a party. We did trick-or-treating, and it was super hot this year, the hottest it's ever been on Halloween. And throughout all of that, through that very long day, everything held up and still looked good at the end of the day. I did have a little bit of creasing, perhaps like around my nose area and so forth, which could have come from like blowing my nose or something like that as well. So do want to mention that. But overall, it held up really well. Everything like on the cheeks and that part of my face looked very nice. So overall, I think it's a nice foundation. And if you're looking for something with a soft matte finish, this is a good one to consider. All right, so let's do just a few comparisons. So this is the shade that we swatched originally. I'm going to put a little bit of a fresh swatch right next to it so you can see how much the color shifts. You can see there's not going to be a ton of oxidation, but there will be a little bit. Now for reference, this is shade BD01 in Chanel, which is one of my go-to matte foundations. And I wanted to show you this. You can see how it is going to be a bit peachier. And this is a better color match for me. So I just need something a little bit deeper. But you can see once it oxidizes, it's almost there. And then this is the Cle de Peau Radiant Matte in I-10. And as I mentioned, my favorite foundation that I like to do is a mix of the Radiant Matte and the Radiant Fluid from Cle de Peau. And this is the shade I-10. And again, you can see it's a little bit peachier and a little bit, just a little bit deeper than the Dolce & Gabbana. The tone's almost the same, but we have a little bit more peach and a little bit maybe more of a nude brown kind of mixed in there just to make it slightly deeper. So those are some similar shades. Again, we got Dolce & Gabbana in 1N here and here. This is Chanel BD01 and Cle de Peau I-10. Let's take a look at the new Victoria Beckham eyeliner. So this is the Satin Kajal in Orchid. So we have one end with the actual color, one end with the smudge tip. So I'm going to show you a demo of this where I use this kind of all over color. So sometimes I'll take the eyeliners and use them like as an eye crayon. So I wanted to show you what that looks like. I did wear that for a full day on Halloween. And by the end of the day, I did get creasing. So these are not like going to be a bulletproof eye crayon or anything like that. But when you blend them out, you can use them very nicely in that application. So as you're looking at this, you can see that I did use a foam tip applicator on the other end to kind of smudge things out, deepen it a little bit at the lashes. If you've never used the Victoria Beckham liners before, they're some of my favorite, but I like them specifically for smudged out eye looks. They're incredibly creamy, but you can get some transfer and movement with these. So I think they work best smudged out where they set better. They're not ones that I can use in the waterline without creating a mess. So it kind of depends what your purpose is for, but I find these really comfortable to use and they've got some really great shades. So this is the shade Orchid. And I also have this on in today's eye look, which we'll see when we take a look at the SUQQU palette as well. Now, I wanted to compare just a few recent eyeliners. This one here is from Dior. This is number 146. It's Pearly Lilac. So I'll put this one going the other way, and you can see this is going to be much lighter. Has a little bit of shimmer in this one, and it's more of a pinky lilac shade. In addition, we also have the Pearly Rose from Dior, which is going to be a very soft pink. Really doesn't look anything like the Orchid shade, but I wanted to include that just in case because, again, holiday season, we're getting some things that are similar. This is one of my go-to eyeliners right now. This is the Valentino Color Graph, and this is in Purple Dose. And you can see this is going to be a true purple, whereas this is definitely much more mauve. This is Addiction Tokyo in Bloody Berry, which is number 10. So I wanted to compare this one. This is going to be a lot deeper. This is also super creamy, but it sets more, and you can see it's a very fine tip here. This is going to be a click up, but you cannot click it down. So just something to note there. But you can see this is going to be a deeper aubergine shade with more of a burgundy hue. Also from Addiction, we have number 8, which is Rose Rust. And yeah, this is probably my closest shade. It's going to be a little bit deeper, but we have kind of that similar tone to Orchid. We don't have as much of that satin finish. This is going to be a matte finish from Addiction. It's kind of like a deeper version, slightly rosier than the Orchid shade. And finally, just to compare a few Victoria Beckham shades, we have Bordeaux, which I always end up opening the wrong end. I don't know why, but I do. So this is Bordeaux. We'll put this one here. And you can see this is going to be a deep, like rich wine red. And then we also have, this one is Fig, which is more of a true grape purple. Very different from Orchid, which you can see is significantly lighter. And then I also have the shade Cherry Blossom, which is more of a vibrant pink. So you can see that Orchid really, you know, is completely different from other shades in the Victoria Beckham eyeliner line. It's kind of a soft mauve shade. There's a little bit of a nude hint to it, and it has a satin finish to it. So just so you can see that up close again, this one here is Orchid. We've got Bordeaux. This is going to be Fig and Cherry Blossom. These two are Addiction Tokyo. We have 8 and 10. These two are Dior, the Pearly Lilac and the Pearly Rose. So I hope that was helpful. Let's go ahead and move on to SUQQU. All right, so let's start off with the eyeliner from SUQQU. So this is part of the holiday collection, which is launching on November 7th at Selfridges. This is shade 102, and they have 2 like shimmery liquid eyeliners. So we have this rosy shade here, and then there's a gold shade as well. So this is kind of a soft beige rose. You can see it's very neutral. And in the demos, you'll see that I try this all over the lid as well, so you can really see the color. And then they have 2 of these like face palettes, so eye and cheek palettes. So we'll take a look at all of these as individual swatches as well as today's look. But first, let's go ahead and do some arm swatches. The first shade here is going to be a soft golden shimmer, and this one works well as a topper shade. Then we have kind of this nude, pale, rosy beige satin, and I want to put this one right here next to the eyeliner so you can see the difference. How the eyeliner itself has a little bit more of a brownish purple hue to it compared to the satin shadow. But I love the shade. It's such a great like all over color kind of shade. Then we have this silvery gray. There's a little bit of brown in here, and there is some shimmer. There's some silver shimmer in here. And then this 4th shade here, it looks brown in the palette, but it's actually a deep purple with a little bit of golden glitter. This is going to be more of a matte formula with golden glitter in it. So these are the eyeshadow shades. This here, you could use as blush or highlight. I think it actually works better as a very subtle highlight or as a blush topper. So you can see it's going to be a very soft, pale, kind of like a nude peach. There's not a lot of shimmer, like it's not glittery, but there is going to be a subtle sheen with that. And when you pile that on the cheeks, you can really see that shimmer. So let's take a look at the demos for this. So the SUQQU Holiday collection is called Cozy Winter. And this is going to launch on Thursday, November 7th at Selfridges, Harrods, Liberty, and Cult Beauty. According to SUQQU, this new holiday collection presents festive and dramatic looks for all of the occasions that come along with the winter season. Inspired by holiday moments such as twinkling stars and lights, crackling fireplaces, and warm drinks enjoyed by candlelight. Cozy Winter is everything you need for a glamorous eye look that sparkles like lights in dark winter nights, cheeks flushed with color reminiscent of wintry weather, and lip looks washed with a sheer warm shade. So there are two different eye and face compacts. I have shade 101, which is described as smoky gray with neutral bluish browns. And we have a marbleized highlight to add shimmer and natural looking glow. There's also 102, which is going to be a rosier neutral beige palette. There are two sparkle eyeliners. I have shade 102 Smoky Pink. The other shade's going to be 101 Gold. And then we also have two blushes in the collection, which are going to be a deep coral and a red. So that's 104 and 105. And in addition, there are three limited edition Moisture Glaze lipsticks also available in this collection. There's one called Chai Beige, Tea Brown, and Deep Wine. I think they look gorgeous. So overall, everything in this collection is going to be limited edition. I think, I have to say, when I was looking at pictures of this collection, I thought it was pretty underwhelming, and it is going to be something more subtle in general, but I really love this palette for kind of those soft everyday looks. You do have some shimmer, but it's more subtle. And I think that this smoky pink eyeliner is really pretty. It's more neutral though, more like I like it kind of all over the lid as, just like a soft everyday shade as well. So that's kind of actually my favorite way to wear it because I do like eyeliner closer to my lashes to be a little bit deeper, but I like this one kind of more all over the lid. And in today's look, I used the Victoria Beckham Orchid all over and did a very thin line of the metallic liner right adjacent to the lashes. So you could kind of see both of them, kind of outlined that Victoria Beckham shape as well. And I do really like that effect. I think it's fun, something slightly different to have something lighter right against the lashes. Overall, I think it's a beautiful palette. I really love the eyeshadows in this. The highlight shade I think is okay. It's not super shimmery. It's a subtle highlight, which I think is nice. I think the color goes well with this palette, but for me, it's really the eyeshadow quad in here that I really love. As for product details, everything is made in Japan. We have a 1-year shelf life on the palette, and we have 9.6 grams of product. The palette has magnetic closure. And as for the eyeliner, we have 0.5 milliliters. Again, it's made in Japan, and I don't see any stated shelf life, but in general, any liquid you're putting near your eyes, that's going to be a 6-month standard shelf life. Now, I'm a huge fan of the fall collection that they came out with this year. This is 142 from the previous collection here. And I wanted to go ahead and swatch this. We'll do these vertically so you can kind of see how the colors compare. And it is a different color story, but it still has some similar hues. This one's going to be, you've got more of your browns and grays. This has more like mauve and plum. But I do think, it does kind of have some similarities. So it's similar enough that you don't truly need both of those. And I have to say, I do really like these. So which one's better to get? It's going to be personal preference, whether you want more of the purpley tones or more of the brown tones. But I do think that they are fairly close, even though they're different enough to own both. Now, as for highlighters, SUQQU also recently came out with these Reflect highlighters, which are also limited edition. This is going to be shade number 1, which is a soft pearly white. And then we have 102, which is going to be a pink shade. And you can see that compared to the highlighter in this palette, these are going to be more luminous. It's a gel powder texture here. And I think you could make a very nice holiday set just with the fall palette and one of these highlighters if you didn't want to pick up this full palette. But I think they're both great options. The highlighter here, though, in the new 101 palette is going to be more subtle. It's also a little warmer, a little peachier. All right, so one more time, here's a look at the eyeliner in 102. This is it's a second eyeshadow shade in the palette. So I hope that was helpful. Overall, I think it's a really beautiful collection, and thank you so much to SUQQU for sending those to me. Let's go ahead and move on to the Dolce & Gabbana lipsticks. All right, so Dolce & Gabbana came out with some permanent lipsticks, and we have 3 different finishes. So this first one is called My Juicy Sheer, and I picked up 3 of each finish. This first shade here is going to be my 19.03. And I think this is a beautiful soft red. I really like the sheer finish. This is probably my favorite finish of the 3. You can see it's going to be a soft, cooler tone red, but it's still has some neutral qualities to it. There's not too much blue in there, but it does lean cool. And then next up, we have my 1981. And I picked this one up because Sierra's born. So I had to get it. But this is going to be a soft nude shade. This one does run a bit warm. We have kind of that orangey tan hue to that. And then we have my 1984. Now, I do want to make a note that the photos online, they are terrible. Not only like the arm swatches don't match the pictures of the bullets. Nothing matches what they look like in person. So you definitely want to look at swatches online if you can. And you can see that my 1984 is going to be more of a rosy nude shade, but it still leans warm. So the sheers have the white packaging. In the gold, we have the satin. So this is my Sculpt Satin, and this is my 101. And you can see that with one swipe of the satins, these are going to be more opaque than the sheers. And this is going to be more of a salmon pink shade. Think like king salmon that has a little bit more of that deeper salmon shade. That's pretty much what it looks like. So it's going to be a bit warm. And then we have my 607. And this one is going to be more of a cool tone, soft burgundy. So you've got some burgundy hues in there mixed with a little bit of a berry hue. So I would say that it's neutral, but you have more of a warm base tone, but cooler overtones to it. And then we have my 1984. So this is a satin version of the sheer, here. So you can see the satin versus the sheer there. Color is going to be pretty similar, but I do think that the shine here and the sheer formula gives it a little bit of a little bit peachier look, whereas the satin has a little bit more nude look to it. So those are the 3 satins I picked up. And then in the black packaging, we have the mattes. So these are called my Comfy Matte, and this is my 1.10. This is a shade I have on my lips right now. And you can see that it is a deep brown with a touch of burgundy in it. So there's a little bit of red in there. And I think it's a really nice fall shade. And we have my 1301. This is going to be more of a pink. Again, this one does lean a bit warm. So it's kind of like a matte creamy pink, a little bit of salmon in there. And then this last one is my 1901, which is going to be more of a nude shade with a touch of rose. And again, this one is going to lean a bit warm as well. That rosy hue in there has a little bit of orange. So let's take a look at the lip swatches. The lipsticks retail for $45 US, and we have quite a few shades. So there are a ton of shades in all of the finishes. And according to Dolce & Gabbana, my Juicy Sheer Lip Stilo combines the shine of a gloss with the comfort of a balm, delivering a daily boost of color and hydration in just one swipe. With 30% instant hydration, it provides a high shine finish with unparalleled control and defined application. This sleek stylo format is housed in sophisticated ivory and gold packaging inspired by the Dolce & Gabbana fashion codes. There are 12 shades in this sheer formula. All of the lipsticks are made in Italy. They have 1.6 grams of product, and we have an 18-month shelf life. Now, as I mentioned, the sheer formula is my favorite because it's like a soft lipstick formula. You do have the shine of a gloss, but it doesn't really have the texture of a gloss. It is going to be a sheer lipstick. Think of more of a Chantecaille Lip Chic, but perhaps not quite as thick. It's a little bit thinner than that, or something similar to the Sisley Fita Rouge Shine. But again, slightly lighter than those in texture. And I have to say, I don't smell anything from the sheer formula. As you're looking at the satin formula, according to Dolce & Gabbana, it's a luscious one-stroke luminous formula that effortlessly glides across lips, creating a soft and radiant glow for more youthful looking and sculpted lips with 6 hours of lasting hydration. Now, this time we have gold packaging on here. And I have to say, I think it's a really nice formula. It glides smoothly on the lips. It's comfortable, and I like the texture. It's got a little bit of that vinyl texture to it. It still feels like a lightweight satin. It has a little bit of grip, so it's not super slippery on the lips. I think it performs really well. So you've got an average wear time. I'd say, 6 hours sounds about right. 4 to 6 hours for, full pigmentation. The only thing I don't love is the fragrance. So it has a very strong synthetic vanilla fragrance, vanillin, and I personally don't love that. So, the satin formula, although I love the way it looks, it's my least favorite of the three just because it smells so strongly of the vanilla. So, that's my only con on there. As for the mattes, these come in the black packaging. And there are actually 24 matte shades here. So this is described as having instant rich color in one stroke with an ultra enveloping texture and lightweight comfortable feel on the lips. Offering unparalleled control and defined application, this sleek stylo format is encased in sophisticated black and gold packaging inspired by the Dolce & Gabbana fashion codes. Now with the matte and the sheer formulas, I don't really smell the vanillin. And I don't see it listed on the ingredient labels for either the matte or the sheer, just for the satin formula. So I'm sure there's a reason for that addition, but I do prefer the sheer and matte formulas because I don't really smell anything from those products. I actually really like this matte formula. It goes on smoothly. It feels almost like a satin lipstick mixed with a little bit of powder. So it's not going to be that strong powdery matte texture that we've seen over the years. It definitely has a bit more of a vinyl texture to it. You do have a little bit of that powdery texture there. You've got some grip. It is really easy to apply, and it stays comfortable on the lips, almost like a little bit of a silicone texture mixed with some powder. That's kind of how it dries down and sets. So I've been testing these out for a few days. And again, I would have to say that the sheer and the matte formulas definitely, those are my favorites. But the formula of the satins is also really nice. It's just, for me, it's just a fragrance. So I'd love to know what you think. Again, these are going to be the shades that I purchased. So we have our sheers, our satins, and our mattes, and I wanted to compare these with the gemstone shades from the recent holiday collection. So let's actually start off with the lightest. So these are a satin formula as well, but this is not going to be the same formula as those here. So it feels similar going on, but this is smoother. I don't smell anything with this. This is 115 Ruby Blush, and let's go ahead, we'll put this one here. But I do think this is a nice, soft, luminous satin. I find these to feel just a little bit creamier, whereas these feel, the permanent ones feel slightly silkier. So just a small distinction, but you can see that Ruby Blush is going to be a bit cooler in tone than the ones that I have here. And again, this shade is going to be my 101, which is going to be warmer. 210 Amethyst Rose is kind of a peachier version. Let's squeeze that in right here. And you can see how that compares to the My 101. And you can see that we have more of a deeper pink shade in the new permanent shade, whereas this is going to be peachier in Amethyst Rose. And that's the one with the purple gemstone. And then we have 415 Sapphire Rust. And let's see, we'll just put this one here. And I wouldn't say that really goes with any of the shades that I picked up. It's more of a terracotta red. And then we also have a deep red 420 Emerald Scarlet, which is not going to match any of the ones that I picked up here, but let's put it next to the first sheer, the sheer red, which is my 1903. And you can see that this is definitely going to be a bit more neutral of a red tone. We've got more blue in the Emerald Scarlet, but obviously the intensity is very different. So I hope that was helpful. Overall, just a quick review of everything we looked at today. We started off with the Dolce & Gabbana primer. This is the Everlast primer, and I have to say I do like this. I think this is a nice primer, and it's blurring and it gives you kind of a soft matte finish. And then we took a look at the Everlast foundation. I think this is a nice foundation. I have a shade that's a little bit too light. They do have an extensive shade range, and it's a little bit of a challenge to find the correct shade, but I think this is a really nice soft matte foundation if you are looking for one. Then we moved on to the Victoria Beckham eyeliner in Orchid, which I think is a really nice, more mauvey shade. It's a little bit lighter than I was thinking it was going to be, and it's more of a nude mauve. So I think it's nice. It's not going to be a favorite of mine because I do like a little bit more impact for my eyeliners. And it does lean a little bit warmer than I was hoping. It's not quite as cool as I was thinking it was going to be, but I think it's a pretty shade. And then we took a look at the SUQQU Holiday collection items that were sent in PR. And I love this 101 palette. I think this is a great palette. It's great for everyday neutral looks. It's a soft, subtle, like more sophisticated holiday look that doesn't scream holiday. So I think it's really pretty. I think the sparkle eyeliner is pretty, but I like this best as an all over eye look because it is going to be a bit more of a subtle shade. Then we took a look at the Dolce & Gabbana lipsticks. And as I mentioned, I think the sheer and the mattes are my favorite. All the formulas are great. These are permanent shades. Colors online, their swatches and photos are terrible. So definitely try to find swatch videos. I like the formula of the satins, but I don't like the fragrance, the vanilla fragrance. But the rest, you know, I think they are great. And again, I don't really smell anything with the sheer or the matte formula. So that is everything. And I hope this was helpful. We did also do a quick review of the nail polish, which was a win. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you very soon and have a wonderful day.